Mr. Isaac Anumudo is still with us in the studio, and he was still talking about the new policy of the NJC. Well, we'll go to Lagos now and take some questions from there.
Okay, Mr. Anumudo, a quick one here. Before the question, the story you were relating, I think, just a correction there, Osumbo was part of the criminal gang. It was DSP Iyamo who was the police officer giving arms to this criminal gang at that point in time. But moving forward on this, still on the argument if the judges should step...
I remember.
Oh, thank you very much. Talking about if the judges should step aside, we've had so many people talk about this, and they still talk about the issue of morality and how it will mean in the course of justice when someone like yourself stands before any of the judges knowing full well what is already going on without even conceding that he or she is guilty. How does that work in a process where you have been fingered and investigations are still on and you're still there discharging your duty?
Yes. It is actually because of situations like this that the NJC was set up in the first place. If you recall, in the previous constitutions in this country, there was no provision for the NJC. It was the 1999 Constitution that provided for the NJC, that so as to create a situation like this where there are allegations before judicial officers, it is first taken to the NJC, that will view it, that will examine it and find out if there is a prima facie case before that judicial officer. Upon confirmation that there is a prima facie case, and in most cases we've seen the NJC do that, they've either suspended, they've retired, they've dismissed such judges, and in fact, in the recent case involving a judge of the Kano State High Court, they even recommended that he submit himself to the police and be arrested and prosecuted. So, if there is already such procedure in existence, why did the DSS have to do what it did? And in fact, from what we now later understand, the impression we are given is that the DSS had to storm these judges because they refused to submit themselves to arrest, to investigation, and that even when they were reported to the NJC did nothing. But facts have now emerged from the chief judge of the Federation, whom we know wouldn't have reason to be lying, that there was no complaint to the NJC from the DSS or anywhere concerning the two Supreme Court judges that were humiliated and embarrassed the way it was done. So now, the point we are making here now is that is why most right-thinking lawyers are strongly opposed to this action of the DSS because of this negative effect it will have on the dispensation of justice and the entire institution of the judiciary, just like you rightly pointed out now. For instance, what if the intention of the DSS and the powers that be was to disqualify these judges from sitting? Just like what has happened to Justice Ademola, who has been forced now to hands up the Dasuki case. Just like what has happened to Justice Dingba, who has been forced to hands up the matters he's handling against the DSS, where he has made consistent orders and the DSS has flattered those orders. The same DSS now goes to attack him, manhandle him, embarrass him, and then we now ask that judge to step down. What if that was the original intendment of the DSS in carrying out this so-called sting operation, which we have found out not to be sting after all? So that's why it's important not to accede to that. And moreover, you talked about moral question. The issue to be asked is, when and how in this earth has morality superseded the law? Moral high ground. How can that overtake a clear provision of the Constitution that says that anybody accused of any crime is presumed innocent until proved guilty? But again, and don't forget, the NJC has requested, give us the facts concerning the allegations against these judges. Let us determine prima facie what their situation is. If we determine that they are culpable, we can then retire them, we can then suspend them, we can then take them out so that they can be tried as non-judges. But as they are sitting judges, you just go there to their houses, bundle them. Now, these people have relations. If they are your relations, how would you feel that a man who is presumed innocent just because he's dispensing justice as a judge is arrested, is bundled, and while he's still being presumed innocent, when we are not sure whether he's guilty or not, he's made to leave the job? And you know the history of this country. How many people who have left their job and later come back to it? That's the question you ask yourself. How many people have been vindicated and later come back to it? And as judicial officers, even if you are vindicated, you don't come back because it will be seen that you carry on with vendetta against the persons who put you in that situation in the first place. So that moral high ground, it doesn't apply here to vitiate the clear provisions of the law. And I want to say something about even that moral high ground issue, because I had someone yesterday talking about what happened with respect to the guy who does WikiLeaks, where some judges walked out of a conference because he was coming there to speak. That again was political. It was international politics at play. And that's why some people are also reading political meaning into this present issue.
Mr. Anubudu, I think it's quite difficult for you to establish that Julian Assange's issue is political. But again, if we want to situate it to what is happening now, going forward, you know, we'll ask the question: what is it that the judiciary has to hide that maybe journalists have been asked not to, you know, report some of these issues? If you look at it now critically, the way it is going, and in law, they say if you know you have a clear conscience, then you fear nothing, and you'll be hopeful that the journalists will help you expose some of these things. How does it feel, as a lawyer, getting to hear that some of these new guidelines coming from the NJC is putting a bit of a stop to journalists in its reportage of what is happening to the judges on this matter?
Like I've said earlier, not only on what is happening to the judges right now, but in fact on all activities of the NJC. Like I keep saying, we are coming from a background of guarding the media, of dictatorship, and of people not being made to know what's happening in the country. We are coming from a background of falsehood. We are coming from a background where leaders in this country have taken citizens for a ride, defrauded the country, and sold dummies to the citizens. So it is not a proper place for you to now start making policies and guidelines that will circumscribe the powers of the media or deprive Nigerians of critical information that they need to have. That's why, like I said earlier when Mogba was asking me, I have said that the NJC will need to strike a critical balance between the need to let Nigerians know what it is doing in connection with discipline of judicial officers and the investigation of allegations, you know, made against judicial officers. It has to make Nigerians know what it's doing and be, to some extent, transparent, while at the same time upholding that guideline which was intended to preserve the sanctity of the judiciary. The reason for this delicate balance is this. You don't say that the judiciary should be destroyed just because you allow people to go to the media and begin to publish petitions, but also because of the fact that, like has been said here, there could be mischief, even in the part of some persons, to leak out this information so that the thing will be rendered nugatory.
All right, let me bring this in.
To be very, very vigilant.
If you could hang on a minute.
Allow Nigerians to know what's happening.
You say that there is... Okay,
pardon me, if you could hang on a minute, let me just ask you this. You know, at the instance of DSS, now that this is going on, 2 of the judges have now been recommended for compulsory retirement. But, you know, there's been several other petitions and reports to the NJC from the AFCC and some other agencies about professional misconduct or misconduct on the part of the judges. And the DSS, I beg your pardon, the NJC also say some of those cases have been dealt with, but the others are part of the 308 cases that are pending. And then you have people who say, look, if you have 308 cases pending for judges' misconduct, there's a huge problem here. And the NJC perhaps brought this upon themselves.
I agree with you, there's a huge problem. Not only with respect to NJC, with respect to judiciary, but with respect to the executive and the legislature. The entire Nigerian society need a lot of sanitizing to take away this business as usual mentality, everything can go mentality, corruption mentality. But I would not agree that the NJC has not been diligent and up to its duty. Maybe the NJC needs to do much more, as they have even admitted themselves in rolling out these new codes and in other directives and guidelines that have been issued recently. But 300 and something petitions against how many judges from a population of 180 million in a situation where you have seen the do-or-die mentality and attitude of politicians, where almost every election matter must go to the highest form of litigation. And when these people lose, there is complaint and accusations against the judges. You saw it just recently. When the APC lost in Rivers, they said the judges took bribe. In fact, some judges were even named and blackmailed. When the PDP lost in Edo, the PDP has in Kogi, the PDP is also accusing that the justice was not done. So there is no judgment to give that will please both parties. One person will be satisfied, and that person may petition. So there are avalanche, floods of petitions coming in regularly. So as the NJC is dealing with them, more are coming. But you must commend the NJC too, because it's only in the judiciary that you have even, we even know how many petitions are in existence and how people have been suspended, dismissed, disciplined. Judges have been sacked, some have been dismissed, recommended for prosecution by the same NJC. How many members of the executive have been suspended? How many members of the Federal Executive Council has the president removed from his cabinet since 1.5 years of this government? But just between last year and now, NJC is giving you records about 50 judges have been disciplined. If the National Assembly had disciplined its members like that, and the executive has done same, I'm sure that this war on corruption would have gathered more momentum. So that's what some of us are recommending, that the war should be pursued in earnest, but rule of law should be observed, due process should be observed, fairness should be observed, equality should be observed, and there should be nothing in the process that suggests vendetta, suggests vindictiveness, or suggests witch hunting. Otherwise, you will lose the support of Nigerians, because this is a very important war that must be won by this government. And all Nigerians must be carried along so that we will all buy into it and contribute our quota to ensure that the war on corruption succeeds.
Okay, that's a fine place to leave it. Mr. Isaac Anumudu, thank you so much for coming on Sunrise Daily. He's a legal practitioner and also a policy analyst. Sunrise Daily continues about now.